Corporate finance practice problem using Excel. Payback period. Time value of money limitation. Get ready, it's time to take your chance with corporate finance. Here we are in our Excel worksheet. If you have access to the Excel worksheet and would like to follow along, note that we are in the practice tab as opposed to the example tab. The example tab in essence being an answer key. Information on the left-hand side, we're going to be populating that information into the blue area on the right-hand side, calculating payback period time. So similar kind of problem we've seen in the past, comparing two different projects or products. This time we want to emphasize the fact that the payback period, although we have a same time frame that is being covered, could still lead to different results or different than optimal results due to not taking into consideration the time value of money. This is another very typical kind of problem within a book problem to emphasize the limitations in the payback period calculation. Not to say that it's not a good calculation to use, but that it's just one of many when we're trying to do a calculation for a long-term type of project or comparing long-term project to the payback period, then giving us the point in time or the amount of time it will take to get back the initial investment, not taking into consideration time value of money. So we're going to say we're investing $160,000. We have the years 1, 2, 3, and 4 in which we think it's going to be generating revenue in the future. And we're going to be comparing the two things we could invest in. These could be said that to be projects or products or equipment, something that we're investing in, and we have to think about a long-term investment and see what the return will be and how long it will take for our investment to basically pay us back. So let's do our calculation here. We're going to go to the product X first. Initial investment, I'm going to say investment is going to be equal to the 160,000. Then we're just going to have our running balance for 1, 2. I'm going to use our autofill down to 4 years. These are 4 years of return on the investment that we expect from that initial investment. Go into the alignment and centering that. Then I'm just going to pull in our payments that we expect to be receiving in the future. Year 1, 70,000. Going to use the autofill to just populate on down for the 40, 40, 30. Autofill handle dragging down. There's the 40, 40, 30. So there's the same payment line items. Now we're just going to say, all right, when are we going to get that 160,000? When do we clear the 160,000? We'll just do our running balance calculation equaling the 160,000 minus the 70,000 after year 1 means that we have 90,000 left that we have not yet collected on for our initial investment. If we then say equal the 90,000 minus the 40,000, we still have 50,000 left after year 2 that we have not recovered at this time. If we then take the 50,000 minus the 40,000 we expect to get in year 3, we're only 10,000 left that we still need to recover. Finally, the 10,000 minus the 30,000 means that we have recovered the 10,000 and we receive profit then of the 20,000. So note, you can also, of course, calculate the profit that we expect to be receiving. Once again, not taking into consideration with this quick calculation, the time value of money would be, I'm going to make this blue over here. So when we do our calculation, we'll just take what our investment is minus the cash flows back. The negative number is going to be profit if we do that type of calculation. This will be equal to the 160,000 minus the sum of, I'm going to take these items and close it up. We have 20,000 profit there. This is going to be equal to the 160,000 minus the sum of these for Y, and closing that up, we have 20,000. So same profit. In either one, they look somewhat similar. They still have the 4 years, but you can see there's a difference in when we get the money. And that's where you get a clue that the time value of money is going to be like a factor here. So if you see this set of data, you're probably thinking, before you even do anything, if it's a book problem, you're saying, they're probably trying to emphasize the fact that there's going to be a difference, even though it looks like there's similar processes, because there's no time value of money here. And then you'll play it out and just double check that that is indeed most likely the case. So we're then going to say the amount still needed for the fraction of a year. So it's 3 years and something. So we need 10,000 after the 3 years. And in year 4, we expect to be earning the 30,000. So we'll do our division problem to get the fraction of a year. Underline in here, font group underline. That's going to give us our partial year calculation, which will then be equal to the 10,000 divided by the 30,000, adding some decimals, number group, couple decimals there. We got the 0.33. So the payback period, payback, what's the payback? Payback's going to be 3 plus that 0.33. Remember that 0.33, if it's in a test question or something, could be you know, reflected as months, 12 times 0.33, for example, adding a couple decimals, number group, couple decimals, or in the number of days, let's assume 360 days in a year, nice even 12 times 30 times the 0.33, 120 days, could be looking something like that. Let's do a running balance of it just to practice our running balance calculation, because that's good times. And we'll do our same kind of thing here, but now breaking out the days between year 3 and year 4 to see that fraction in practice. So we're going to say 1, 2. I'm going to select those two and then autofill all the way down to 360 days, 12 times 30, not 365, because we're doing a nice even thing here. We're rounding it out, just rounding it out for our estimations at the 360 way down there. I'm going to center that in the alignment and center. And then the fraction of the year would be 1 day divided by 360 days in the year. Let's go ahead and autofill that on down. There's our fraction of the years. Autofilling that all the way down. 1 day divided by the number of day that we're in, and so on. Adding some decimals so we can see stuff happening instead of like not being able to see stuff. And then we're going to take our 30,000 that we expect to receive evenly over the year divided by the number of days, 360. And let's go ahead and make this first one F6. Let's F4 that one so I can just copy it all the way down. So that cell, don't want it to move. Don't want it to move down. And then I'll just copy that down. Autofill, grabbing Phil's handle, dragging Phil's handle down, 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 down to 360 right there. Then we'll do our running balance calculation. Good practice to do these running balance calculations. They're very useful. The 83 plus the 83. Once you know how to do them, they become quite easy to do, but they take some practice. So we're going to take the autofill handle, drag it on down. It looks like a complicated kind of thing here, but autofill knows exactly what to do. The Excel will have the relative cell references done for us. And we get down to the 360 eventually. Auto's driving a little bit slower than usual here. And there's the 30,000. So then we're going to just look for, when do we clear this 10,000 then? When do we clear the 10,000? So we're looking 10,000 over here. 10,000, 10,000. Where do we clear the 10? Where do we clear the 10? Looking for the 10. And there it is right there. 120. 120. Making it yellow. There's the 0.33, day 120, 0.33% of the year. And so same as the 0.33 there. All right, let's do it for the second project. Project number Y or product Y or whatever. And then I'm going to hide some cells. So we're going to go from E to M. 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 And then right click and hide those cells so we can then work on Y. Y, because that's the next one. We're going to work on Y here. So we'll do the same thing. It's going to be the investment. Investment. And this is going to be equal to the 160. We'll have the same 1, 2, 3, 4 years of payback. Payback. Centering that plus revenue of 20,000. Then we'll pick up our money, which starts at 40,000, which the last one had 70 in year 1. That being the big difference. I'm going to then autofill that down, grabbing Phil's handle and dragging autofill handle down. So there's our series of payments matching up. Looks good. Let's do our calculation equaling the prior item. This now being the amount that we put in minus what we're going to get paid back in year 1 means we have 120 left not yet paid back. Then if we take that 120 minus what we get paid back in year 2, we get the 80,000 still not paid back. If we take that 80,000 minus the 70,000 not yet paid back or paid back in year 3, we're left with 10,000 that still needs to be paid back. And then if we take that 10,000 minus the 30,000, we then see that we have been paid back in year 3 something. It looks almost similar to the last payback period. It's going to be pretty much the same, I believe, here. So let's just double check that. We need the fraction of the year now. Fraction of the year, so that's going to be what we need, 3 something. We need another 10,000 after year 3. And then we're going to say adding the next year's flow, assuming it's a nice even flow throughout the year, 30,000. And that's going to give us our partial year calculation. Partial year calc for the payback. It's going to be the 10,000 divided by the 30,000, underlining then the 30,000 font group underline, adding some decimals right there, and there we have it. So then that means that the total payback is going to be equal to the 3 years plus that 0.33. So it's the exact same. Remember, once again, that 0.33, you might have to do it in months. So if we say 12 months times 0.33, something like 4 months, right? And then if we took like 360 days, if we made a nice even year, 30-day months, 120. So same kind of thing there. Now note we came up to the same number here. So the question's going to be like, well, which one would you choose? I don't know, because payback came to the same number, but clearly they're different. So, and just by looking at it, you'd say, well, I kind of like this one better because I get paid back sooner, which you can't see with this calculation, which is the point of this particular problem. If you were to use time value of money, then you would see that. So again, it doesn't mean the payback period is wrong, but problems will tend to show you the limitations in the payback period so that you don't, wrongly use it. So it doesn't mean you can't still use it, but you got to know what you're trying to calculate with the payback period. So then let's go ahead and do this partial year calculation one more time just for the fun of it, and then we'll talk about that a little bit more. So I'm going to say this is going to be 1, 2. We'll bring this on down to 30 again, or 360, 360. Bringing this on down to 360. There we go for the payback. Alignment center. And then this is going to be equal to the 1 divided by the 360 days. And this is going to be equal to the 10,000. And let's make that we're going to be picking up then the 30,000. I'm going to make that an absolute reference, selecting F4 or $ before the O and 6. You only need a mixed reference, but I'm going to make it an absolute. And then divide it by the 360. So that we can then autofill those two all the way down, selecting those two, grabbing the fill handle, and rolling it down, taking it down, pulling it down to 360 right there. You know what I'm talking about. And then going back up top. Then I'm going to say this equals, we'll do our running balance calculation. This is going to be equal to the prior one plus the AT3. Grabbing that one and grabbing the fill handle and dragging it all the way down. Kind of want to make sure you got the right stuff in the car before you drag it driving all the way down here. But I think it's right. At the end of the day, we should then get to the 30,000. The 30,000 at the end of the day, or at the end of the year, 360, day 360. There's the 30,000. Looks correct. And then we want to find, we're looking for that 10,000. So where's the 10? And also this whole column, let's add some decimals. Selecting column S, number group, adding a couple decimals. Now let's look for the 10,000 to the right. 10,000. Can we see it? There it is. 120.33. Font group, making it yellow. So we're looking 120 to 0.33. Again, looks pretty much the same as our last calculation, matching up here. All right, now let's analyze. So let's unhide. Let's go from C to N. CN, so we can start seeing it. Right click and unhide. There it is. Now we're seeing. All right. Okay. So then the question will, of course, will be, if it was like a practice problem or a test question, they would say, well, which one would you choose if you just used the payback period? And we'd be like, I don't know, because it came out to the exact same between the two of them. I guess they're both exactly like the same, but they're not exactly the same. You can see it right there. So, and that of course is to emphasize the fact that the payback period, it has a limitation, and that limitation is not taking into consideration the time value of money. So although we're getting paid back in the same time period, although the net income is in essence the same over the 4-year time period, it would not be the same if we took into account the time value of money, and we could just see which one would be better. Then you could do the payback period and then say, okay, well, now which one would be better? Well, this one's going to be better normally because we're getting paid back sooner. We got the 70,000 up top. We're going to get well, not really paid back sooner, but we're going to get a larger chunk of money sooner in time, and therefore that 70,000 is going to be worth more than the 40,000 that we get here. This 70,000 that we're getting in year one would be worth more than this over here 70,000 that we would be getting down in year three. So you would assume then that if you do the time value calculations, which we'll go into in following presentations, that this stream would be better when you take into consider time value of money, even though when you do not, you have the same net result in terms of the net revenue, the amount of revenue over the investment, and the payback period is the same.